This is a brief recording on a storyboard for sharing information with a diverse audience. And my name is Miranda Bartholomew for class IDPT 640. So just briefly, this is a quick overview of an e-learning unit. So ideally, the learner is going to be someone who struggles to speak to a diverse audience culturally, so a culturally diverse audience, or an audience in a work setting that has varied departments. That's the setting, that's the type of learner that would take this particular e-learning unit. So again, someone that's going to be in a situation where they're going to be speaking to a diverse audience. So we talk about quite a few basic concepts for a speaker or a presenter or even a manager in this type of setting to consider. But first, what I thought was really important was to make sure we included some text, some audio, to really make this more interactive, to really make sure that our learner grasps the true idea of effective communication and to present a situation that is not effective. So in this course, the way we've designed it so that the learner will be able to leave after they complete these courses. They will know how to communicate information to a diverse audience. So as I mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that they can speak to just about anyone and follow some simple techniques when they're speaking, particularly when they're giving information, so that everyone leaves feeling included and feeling like they understand what was said. So the objectives is, given the demographic details of your staff, you will practice simplifying complex information with the intent that your audience will comprehend. Given your ability to simplify complex information, you'll then be able to select appropriate terms and expressions and modify your pace when presenting information in a diverse setting. So that's basically what I just mentioned as well. So here's more of a much closer example of the start of the e-learning program, which again, we're going to include audio. So we're going to read to the learner, as well as they will also see text. So there's no interference with being able to receive what we're trying to teach and train them. So one of the first activities is being able to learn about some of the deficiencies that might be in your audience, such as, anyone that may have a hearing loss is a great example. So that would be an opportunity for that person to listen for volume when they're doing this training, and even for themselves to be more aware of their volume. The second activity is going to be focused on language barriers. Again, being aware of your audience. There are multiple situations where your audiences are not just English speaking. They may have multiple, your audience may have multiple native languages. So English may be their second language, so being able to do activities around that and practicing how to use more simpler terms so that your entire audience, especially if it's culturally diverse, can understand. New hires, you might have folks that have just come on board to your company. Again, employees from other departments, so this is a great opportunity for them to practice different terms, to practice abbreviations if used that would be inappropriate, that your new hires or other departments might not know. So that is one of the more introductory activities. So those three things that focus on identifying, your audience. So your audience may have various hearing levels. They may have different language barriers. And then lastly, just going back to this previous one, what was the last one? And your new hires. So we want to make sure we include the new hires in the other departments. Second stage of this is demonstrating. So we want to make sure that our learners can demonstrate what they learn. So here is where the learner can click on the different students of this class and learn about their challenges. And more so, I'm focusing on more hearing challenges. So they'll be able to learn a little bit more about that person's challenges. And the next scene, they'll click on a couple of different team members in the audience and learn about their language barrier. So they'll learn about where they're from, what language that they speak, maybe how long they've lived in the United States. Again, learning more about their audience. The third activity, we're going to learn about a couple more folks. We're going to learn about how long Devin was has been working with the company, and we're going to learn what department he was hired into, and then also Doris, how long has she been with the company and what's her tenure. So this is really helping the learner to really put, their helping them learn who their audience members are a little bit more cohesively. So then there's practicing. So here we'll present an audio clip of them hearing communication being given or information being shared, and they're going to be the judge of whether or not it's effective or not effective. So this particular part of the unit is certainly going to be preset in that there is a right answer. So it's not just going to be objective. We will inform them if they are on target or not after they've attempted to answer that. The second part of this very same activity, the second part of this activity has two parts. So activity 2A focuses on various vocabulary words that most can be generally understood. You can't take that for granted. Everyone's level of English, especially if English is their second or third language, their knowledge of various words could vary. But we want to just present some words that we believe through our studies that most can understand. And then we want to also present to our learner words that can be misunderstood. And so that's going to be really important for our learners to avoid when they're presenting information. So there's 2A and there's 2AA. So, and then part B of this piece is now listening and selecting the appropriate pace. So we studied and learned about some vocabulary words that should or shouldn't be used, or that generally may be understood or misunderstood. Now we're focusing on pace. What's the pace that we should be practicing when we're presenting information to a group, especially to a diverse group that has various learning levels, that have various tenures, and that may have various hearing challenges. So we have two different, again, presenters. We have Susan and Kevin, and the learner will be able to press play on each of them, and they'll be able to compare speaking or pace of speech for that matter. And then they should be able to select, after listening to both, which is the more appropriate pace when presenting in a diverse setting. The third activity for practicing, there's lots of practice here, because we want to make sure that our learner, by the time they leave, they can pick and select the right and appropriate expression. So we have different scripts. So now we've heard examples from a presentation. Now we're going to read. So they're going to be selecting the preferred script for a presentation. And so what they're looking for here, after, excuse me, let me go back. There's a play button here, right in this area. So they're going to hit that play button like they have with some of the other units or some of the other slides. They're going to listen to a presentation. There are going to be some faults to this presentation, and when they're finished listening to it, they are supposed to then select a better or a more appropriate script for what they heard to resolve it, to make it more effective for their audience. So again, this is another opportunity for them to practice what they've learned. Another activity, again, just to really enhance and take home the idea of listening, watching for pace, using appropriate words. There are going to be various phrases here, and the idea here is to click and slide the phrase into the dotted area there. So it should be a perfect match. That's the idea, by being able to take and slide those phrases. So again, that's another idea of the demonstration. Assessment. So this is the final piece. There are 6 different video and or audio clips here of the so the learner can hear various presenters, and after selecting on one, they will go to a next page. They will watch and or listen, and they will measure if and or whether, how the presenter demonstrated the presentation effectively. So was their communication effective? So what the learner will see here are these 3 options, and they will each option will have qualities that should be present in the presentation, if you will. And some of them are going to reflect what we've talked about and what they've learned, like pace, using appropriate words, things like that. So those are going to be listed here. And the presenter, or excuse me, the learner, as they're going through it, they will pick the appropriate options. And then they're going to hit this submit button, or check the submit button, and that's how they submit their final answer. They won't know that they're right or wrong until they complete everything and they get their final score. So that is, in conclusion, the brief presentation of my storyboard. Thank you.